Hello and welcome back to my solo level 1 all honor mode bosses series. In this episode I'm going to be going over my approach to the Kresh, the owlbear and more. To start things off, we're going to be tackling the Zayfisk inside the Kresh. For that I'm going to need the headband of intellect, the cloak of protection, the shade clinger armor, a silver pendant, Furzu's ring of trading, the ring of geniality, staff of arcane blessing, and an elixir of heroism. The shade clinger armor that I'm going to be using only works when we're obscured, and in Baldur's Gate 3 terms that just means basically when we're not inside bright light. So to get that I'm going to have to turn off all the candles around the Zayfisk. This one in the back we can't actually reach to turn it off, but you can shoot it and it's fine. I'm also going to send any excess gear to the camp to save weight so we're not over encumbered. And with the combination of gear that I have, as well as the double bless buff we get from the staff of arcane blessing and elixir of heroism stacking, it's easy to pass all the rolls without having to use any inspiration whatsoever. And after the Zayfisk has exploded, our silver pendant and our 2 rings will help for the deception check on the doctor afterwards. Now I'm going to go head over to Trader Jira inside the Kresh, and she's pretty unique because she is the only trader that will ever sell potions of supreme healing and potions of superior healing in a level 1 run. So I'm going to spam partial rest until I have about 20 of each. She will of course also sell these in your own run, regardless of what level you are. So I highly recommend checking her out, because potions of supreme healing can definitely save your run. Also, while I'm spamming partial rest to buy the potions, I'm going to tell Arabella that her parents are dead so that I can get the Shadowblade ring from her. With my potions acquired, I'm now ready to kill the trader, but to do that I'm going to need to clear the hallway outside. For that I'm going to need the Fistbreaker helm, the Deathstalker's mantle, the Graceful cloth, the gloves of archery, boots of speed, Moondrop pendant, the Crusher's ring, Risky ring, the Club of Hill Giant strength, the Titan string bow and the Ritual dagger. I'm also going to buff the Titan string bow using the Drake Folklave to give it a 1d4 elemental damage boost. I'm then going to use the Ritual dagger's weapon skill, Blood Sacrifice, to do 1d4 to myself, so I can drop my HP low enough to get Leviatar's blessing and also get the Moondrop pendant working. I'm then also going to use Shield of Thralls because the temporary HP from this doesn't stop the Moondrop pendant passive or Leviatar's blessing from working. Now I'm going to summon in Scratch and wait for the patrolling guard to be far enough away that I can lock it into place with turn-based mode. I'm then free to attack the youths in the center, and then I'm going to run the opposite way from the patrolling guard because Scratch will no longer be locking it into place in turn-based mode. And then I'm going to quickly finish off one of the youths and then let them try to detect me before finishing off the second one and getting away before I can be detected. For the third youth in the hallway outside the infirmary, it only takes an arrow of fire, because after I move away, the fire then finishes them off on their turn when they come towards me. For the patrolling Githyanki warrior, I was trying to get around the OP Githyanki parry ability, which they reduced all damage by 10, so I placed some smoke powder bombs around them and then shot an arrow of fire at them. Although this really pushed the line on what Baromancy could be, so I decided not to use this too often. In fact, I literally only used this one other time in the entire run. And now it's time to take out Trader Jira, who has a lot of Githyanki around her, but if I use improvised melee weapon I can drag her away from them and then cancel it before it finishes. Then I'm going to open up combat with an elemental arrow from Hyde for a surprise attack. Some of the Gith will come to investigate, but they have to miss their first turn, so I shoot another elemental arrow and then back off, being sure to break line of sight, and I'm able to finish off the trader with another elemental arrow, and then I can back off far enough away that I can instantly end the fight. Now I can take the knife of the Undermountain King from their body, and I'm going to send the rest of the items to camp to sell later. The Gith won't return to their posts, but they also won't be aggressive, so it's not really much of a problem. Now it's time to go pick up Lizelle from camp and go speak with a Kithrak. I'm going to tell her that I seek an audience with Chick Rival Wargaz and showing her the astral prison when she asks. And in the room with Wargaz, I'm going to stand here, enter Hide, and turn on turn-based mode, and then I can move the elegant chest out to the line of sight of the Githyanki nearby and then loot it for the gloves of belligerent skies. And then I'm going to move away afterwards just to be sure that they don't accuse me of stealing. And after looting all the stuff in the side rooms, I'm going to toss a grease bottle at the statue on the left and then turn them to reveal the secret entrance to the Brutal Offender. I'm also going to move the decorated barrels out of the way. This secret entrance will be important for later, but for now it's time to speak to Wargaz. I'm going to be obedient towards the Queen, a little bit because because of the Githyanki roleplay aspect, but mostly because this is the easiest way to build approval with Lizelle. Inside the astral prism, the urge takes over, but when I stab my future self in the heart, instead of being angry at me, they tell me that the people watching the video should press that subscribe button and leave a like on the video too. Thanks again, future me. And even Lizelle approves of this. So if that isn't enough reason to do it, I don't know what is. Before leaving the astral prism though, I'm gonna throw a potion of invisibility at me and Lizelle to make us both invisible. But Larry have patched it so this doesn't work on Lizelle anymore, as the ensuing conversation with Wargaz makes her visible again. So I'm just gonna get out of the way and leave her to die, while I head towards the secret entrance that I opened up earlier. Then I'm going to summon in the invisible mage hand that the Githyanki have and move it into the room, where I'm gonna move the chest over as far as I can. I should have thrown it instead, but it had been a while since I'd got this far and I'd forgotten to do that. I also forgot that I can teleport to camp outside in the secret entrance long rest, but only if I teleport to camp and long rest from the camp instead of trying to long rest from the menu outside of camp. But the reason I opened up the secret entrance is because unlike the room with Wargaz, I can teleport out from this area. So I went to the waypoint inside the crash. The Githyanki that were in the hallway earlier have moved away, and after I long rest, I'm free to sneak back in towards the Kithrak, who has now positioned herself precariously next to this huge chasm, and with an arrow of roaring thunder, I can knock her down into it. Doing this from hide gets a surprise attack on the rest of the Githyanki, and if the arrow of roaring thunder had failed, I would have just drank a potion of invisibility and reset the fight until it works. With the Kithrak down and the gifts and the wolf surprised, I pass my turn and then I'm going to hide and sneak away to reset the fight, because I noticed that I didn't have my Titan string bow equipped at this moment. Outside of combat, I equipped the Titan string bow, the amulet of Misty Step, and the knife of the Undermountain King for the increased crit chance. Then I make sure to buff the Titan string bow with the Drake Folk Glaive and sneak back in. As I mentioned earlier, attacking from hide outside of their line of sight guarantees a surprise round. So I open up with an elemental arrow on the ranger before finishing them off on the next round. With my cape's invisibility, I'm then going to reset the fight. Then I'm going to sneak back in and take out the Ardent, which I'm able to do in a single hit, which doesn't even start combat. For the wolves, I'm going to knock one of them down into the chasm, and I'm just going to attack the other one while kiting it back towards the hallway, and it ends the battle within a couple of turns thanks to some high damage rolls. With a cast of invisibility from the fetish of Kala Duran Smooth Hands ring. Yes, that's literally what it's called. Just don't ask me what exactly that fetish is. I can sneak my way past Wargaz and his cronies into the secret entrance. Then from here I can summon in another mage hand, move it towards the chest, and this time throw it as far as I can towards the secret entrance. It's now that I remember that I can go to camp in the secret entrance, so after my mage hand dies, I'm going to partial long rest to get it back. Then with my next mage hand, I'm going to throw it further into the room, where I'm now able to sneak in and loot the contents of the chest for the strange conduit ring. I'm now free to leave the mountain pass for now, but not before promising to help Voss in his quest to overthrow the queen, and getting my Githyanki freecon with Lizelle. In the morning, it's on to the Blighted Village, but more precisely, the Apothecary's Cellar, where I'm going to change my class into Warlock so I can get the permanent Shovel Summon, then swap back to Rogue. To be honest, I didn't really need to do this since Shovel is only useful in 2 fights, which the scrolls themselves would be fine for, but I promised to point out when I reclassed in the first part of the series. For those who didn't know, you can loot the Necromancy of Fae by moving it towards you out of the way of the trap, and then pick it up. Now it's on to the spiders down the well, with the same gear I had equipped in the crash, remembering to buff the Titan string bow using the Drake Folk Glaive. But for what I presume is because I'm in turn-based mode when I attack one of the spiders, it doesn't make them all surprised, so I have to back off as far as I can and try to break line of sight on them all. One of the spiders is able to do their little Misty Step ability to get closer to me, but they can't attack me directly, so instead they just use web on me, and none of the others are able to get close enough to me to do anything else. Back on my turn, I tried to take out the spider that had moved closer to me, but I missed my fire arrow, barely doing any damage to it. This puts me in a dangerous position, and I'm at risk of losing my run right here and now. I jump out of the web and try to make a run for it towards the bucket, but I can't reach it. One of the spiders is able to teleport right next to me, and their venomous bite is able to burst my shield of thralls, leaving me dangerously low on health. Then, the spider teleports over to the high ground, and I'm ready to go back to the Nautiloid. But it rolls a 1! Not wanting to take any further risks, I decided to disengage and take my exit using the bucket. I then long rested back at camp and came back, but when I go down the well, I discovered that the spiders hadn't reset and I'm thrown straight back into danger. Fortunately though, this time my arrow of ice crits a nearby spider, killing it instantly. So I'm going to exit the cave to end the battle before sneaking my way back in. But for now the spiders decided to actually reset for whatever reason, so I can sneak back in without getting into combat, and this time my arrow of ill matter is able to get the spider low enough that Cool the Weak finishes it off. So I'm able to sneak away while invisible before the Eticaps are able to see me. I tried to get a bit of damage off on one of the Eticaps, but I managed to miss both of my shots before combat started. Fortunately, the Eticaps are melee focused, with their only long range ability being web, so as long as I attack from distance with my bow to avoid their infested passive, I can easily take out a pursuing Eticap, and with the first one dead making me go invisible, the other Eticap chooses not to pursue any further, and I'm able to sneak back towards it while it still thinks I'm invisible, and I'm able to get a big hit off on it. But my next attack I rolled 2 1s, but it's not a problem as I'm able to finish it off on my next turn. The dead phase spiders will leave behind a pool of simple toxin when they die, but if you throw water or an alchemist fire at it, this will override the toxin, making it safe to step on, after the fire is gone of course. My next goal is to take out one of the patrolling phase spiders by the boss by attacking it from this ledge. Then I'm going to sneak my way over to the spot, making sure that I don't get seen by the remaining phase spider or their queen. And when they turn around, I'm going to dash a few times, click heals, then enter turn-based mode to lock them in place and sneak past them. From this side, I'm going to wait for the way to be clear of any sight lines, and then I'm going to dash again a few times, click heals, and enter turn-based mode again. This will let me sneak in and grab the gem to open the Necromancy of Fae with, but for now I'm going to teleport out to the Blighted Village waypoint. I'll be back to fight the Spider Queen later. Instead, I'm going to equip the Cloak of Protection, the Shadeclinger armor, and go back inside the darkness of the cave, before using Bless from the Staff of Arcane Blessing and reading the Necromancy of Fae. Then with advantage on all the rolls, and an elixir of heroism for the double bless buff, I'm easily able to pass all the wisdom saving throws without using a single inspiration. I then did another long rest, and Lizelle decided we needed to engage in some kinky githyanki mating rituals, as she wanted me to beat her up to prove that she is mine and I am hers. The morning after, I made myself a fresh corpse using this goblin, so I can use a scroll of animate dead that I'd found earlier to make a skeleton. I'm then going to summon in Shovel and buff all 3 of us using Shield of Thralls. As I make my way down to the Owlbear cave, I'll go over the important equipment for this fight. I used the Fistbreaker helm, the Deathstalker's mantle, the Graceful cloth, the gloves of archery, the boots of speed, Crusher's ring, the Risky ring, the knife of the Undermountain King, the club of Hill Giant strength, the Titan string bow buffed by the Drakethroat glaive, and an elixir of the Colossus. To start the fight, I use my Illithid wisdom on Andric to tell him to stop being such a wuss, and then I move towards the owlbear myself. I'm then going to shoot an arrow of ice at the owlbear, hoping to knock it prone, and I do. I should have used my Illithid critical though, but after drinking a potion of speed, I make up for it by landing a massive crit with an arrow of lightning. On Shovel's turn, I move them in and go invisible, and my animated skeleton is able to get a hit off, doing a decent chunk of damage. On the owlbear's turn, they go straight into rage mode, which prompts their partner to show up. Then they waste their turn by jumping towards the skeleton and trying to detect Shovel. Andric gets off a tiny bit of chip damage on the owlbear, and Brenna goes for a command on the owlbear, but they save. The owlbear's mate then jumps down and attacks Brenna, almost one-shotting her. Back on my turn, I roll back-to-back crits against a much weakened owlbear mother to finish it off. I then start making my retreat back towards the cave entrance, being sure to jump over the water so I don't break my invisibility. I move Shovel out of the way before landing my 4th crit in a row, this time with the animated skeleton. Andric then confirms their place in hell by attacking the baby owlbear, and Brenna heals up a little bit before failing their command on the daddy owlbear. The owlbear cub attacks Andric for his stupidness, and then daddy owlbear proceeds to mess Brenna up with a multi-attack and jumps towards Andric. On my turn, I'm going to hide and move further away. Nothing much happens on Shovel and the skeleton's turn, except I miss my shot on Andric. And after he hits the owlbear club again, Daddy Owlbear tells him to pick on someone his own size and gets a big hit off on him before going to investigate my last name position. I'm then able to finish Andric off, first with a hit from Shovel, then a big unnecessary crit from the skeleton. For some unknown reason, back on my turn I discovered that I'm not in hide anymore, but after I hide again and use click heals, I'm actually able to get far enough away to leave the battle, so I can exit the cave. This for some reason also drags the skeleton out with me, just leaving Shovel alone in the fight. So on her turn I just go invisible again and move away, letting the fight end. And this is where I consider this fight to be over, as far as the run is concerned at least, since only the Owlbear Mother is considered to be a boss, with the mate technically being a summon through its legendary action. It's then time to quickly spam a few partial long rests in order to do the cutscenes with the Owlbear Cub for them to be an ally later on. Besides, what kind of murderous monster wouldn't want this cute cuddly ball of feathers at their camp? Next up on the agenda is the quest to save Fanyo. First thing to do is to use a scroll of sea invisibility. You can use Volo's Eye too, but I personally prefer to keep my eyes in my sockets. Then, when I get close to where Oliver is, I'm going to cast guidance, then pickpocket Oliver to get the Ring of Shadows, before lockpicking the nearby chest for the Ring of Mental Inhibition. I then agree to play Oliver's game of hide and seek. There's not really a lot to mention here, other than when the second round begins, you can just hide and sneak inside the house to avoid combat. For the next part of the quest, I need to kill Mallet's form. So in order to do that, I'm going to equip the marksmanship hat, the graceful cloth, the gloves of the balanced hands, the boots of speed, the caustic band, the strange conduit ring, the sentinel shield, and the net emitter on my offhand. I'm also going to use protection from evil and good from the ever-seeing eye amulet, as this gives me the concentration I require for my strange conduit ring, as well as Mallet's form being undead. Before starting this fight though, I'm going to hop up on the roof of the House of Healing and break this ladder. Then I'm going to hop on this elevator and send it and myself down. From this balcony, I'm then going to dash a few times, enter turn-based mode and attack Mallet's form with my offhand to start the fight. This frees me up to retreat back to the elevator and go back up to the floor above. I did also hide, but this was pretty pointless because everyone was surprised anyway. I'm then going to hop on over to the other side of the elevator and make my way out onto the roof near this hole. My goal for now is to wait a few turns for Malice to make his way out, while not putting myself in a spot where they can see me through the various holes in the roof. Once Malice has made their way out to me in the room below, I'm then going to go into hide. Since they can't see a way up to me, Malice and his nurses will wait around on their turn. So back on my turn, I can move into position to attack Malice and hit him with an offhand attack with my net emitter. This frees up my action every turn to be used to hide. You can use your reaction to use Psionic Backlash on your turn after you attack Malice, but you must never use it on the enemy's turn as this will take you out of hide. So, with the high ground secure, I'm free to just attack Malice every turn with my net emitter, Psionic Backlash to nurses to weaken them in the process, and then end my turn in hide. This process under these conditions can literally be repeated over and over again with the enemy not being able to do anything about it. Just be sure to never ever use your Psionic Backlash on the obliging assistant enemy skill, because that is the only way to send yourself back to the Nautiloid. The occasional heals Malice gets when his health gets lower will slow the fight down, but I'd rather it take a little bit longer and be patient than be impatient and remaking the character. And believe me when I say this, it took a lot of remakes of Murder to get this far already, so I really don't want to screw it up now. After what feels like an eternity later, I'm finally able to land a killing blow on Malice, and from here on out it's a simple case of finishing off any surviving nurses one by one. Again, making sure to end each turn in hide, and it isn't long before they've all fallen and the battle is over. Malice has two very important items I'll be needing. One is the battered loot which I need to continue the Faniel quest, and the other is the Surgeon's Subjugation Amulet, which I don't even think I'm understating here, might be one of the most powerful amulets in the entire game. You're definitely going to see this make a big impact later in the run. Before I continue with the quest to free Fanyo, I need to go on a bit of a side quest, and for this side quest I'm going to need to travel around and loot as many big chests that I can, preferably ones that have the medium toughness condition. In actuality I only needed 9, but I went a bit overboard as this is the first time I've ever done this and ended up with 24 of them. Now, while I would love to be able to take credit for this strategy, all credit has to go to MunkyRadio over on Twitch. He does also have a YouTube channel, which I pray I have remembered to link down in the details below, but you should definitely go check him out on both platforms, as he does a lot of challenge run content for Baldur's Gate 3, and he's never shy of helping out others with the game. So what Monkey discovered is that if you make a couple of rows of chests in front of where the portal will be, making sure to cover the entire ledge and making at least one row closer to the portal 2 chests high, none of the Shadow Curse undead will be able to reach the portal. The chest wall has to be at least 2 rows thick, because some of the Shadow Cursed have longer reaching weapons, and the closer row needs to be 2 chests high to prevent the ravens from being able to fly over it. It also has to specifically be chests, not crates, because you cannot climb on top of chests. With the Great Chest Wall of China constructed, you can then use a Scroll of Darkness and speak to Halsin. Though I kind of messed up because you're supposed to spam through the dialogue really quickly to start the battle, else the darkness will fade away. But I quickly rectified this by drinking a potion of speed, casting darkness again, and then going inside it to hide. Now it's simply a waiting game, with the route to the portal blocked off by chests, and it being enshrouded in darkness which blocks projectiles. None of the Shadow Curse undead will be able to attack it. All I have to do is end my turn every time and wait for the turn count to end, and then when the turn count goes to 0, all of the Shadow Curse undead are instantly killed and the battle ends. So once again, I want to give a big shout out to MunkyRadio. You should definitely go check out his content, because without this tactic I don't even think this run would be doable, and he can definitely show you how you're actually supposed to do this and not the big mess that I did. One tactic I can take credit for though is this next one, a world premiere of what I might consider one of my smartest strategies to date. The battle with Oliver takes place by the Statue of Shard, just outside of Moonrise Tower. So, armed with that information, is there a way to prepare that battlefield to our advantage? And the answer to that question was waiting for me all the way back in the Myconid colony in the Underdark, as Aemelion will sell me a handful of caustic bulbs for a long rest. And caustic bulbs have a rather unique property about them. Not only do they do 1 to 4 acid damage per turn, but their surface effect lasts until long rest and is not turn based. So after buying a bunch of caustic bulbs, I make my way over to where Oliver would teleport to and throw caustic bulbs to cover the area, making sure not to throw them at the top near the statue, as I don't want to accidentally kill Oliver. Then it's time to head on over to Oliver to speak to him about Faniel, which causes him to flee through a portal. To make sure I don't accidentally kill myself when I follow him, I'm gonna buff with Shield of Thralls, and I was right to do so since it put me straight in a pool of brine and I took 5 damage. Not all of my health, but if both hits rolled 4 damage, I would have been dead without the shield. The first thing I need to do is put myself somewhere where I can't be reached, so I'm going to Misty Step up on the roof of the Masons Guild southwest of my starting position and then hide. Now to talk about why caustic bulbs, and the reason is quite simple really. Every turn that Oliver has, he's going to summon in a bunch of mini clones. Each clone only has 1 HP, so even the smallest damage roll from the brine will kill them. Also, every time one of the clones die, the barrier around Oliver takes 10 damage, so since the enemies can't reach my position, and with Oliver summoning clones into the brine every turn, the battle becomes a waiting game. I mean, technically speaking, if the AI was smart enough, it could understand that the Wraiths and the Owlbear both have the ability to get up on the roof I'm on, and could at least try to detect me. But they're dumb, so they just wait around just like I am for the battle to end. Speaking of being dumb though, since this was literally the first time I've ever done this fight, I didn't realise that I needed to talk to Oliver to end it. And before I realised this and was able to get over to Oliver, he had summoned in a second Shadow Owlbear. So after I'd spoken with him and convinced him to go back to Faniel, I tried to see if going invisible to end the fight would also make them disappear. But it didn't, so I made my way around to the side that the Masons Guild was on and threw a smoke powder bomb to start the battle, which also ignited all of the caustic brine I'd put down. I then backed off towards the Masons Guild, but the Owlbear was too scared to take the small amount of burning damage and opted to run the long way round. One of the remaining Oliver clones ran right into the fire, but they're really not a concern. I'm able to reach the Owlbear with a smoke powder bomb and back off towards the Masons Guild again. The Owlbear then dashes towards me and doesn't jump, so I threw another a smoke powder bomb and back off inside the Mason's Guild. I guess the owlbear didn't like that though, as they ran away instead, but I'm able to throw a smoke powder bomb over the wall, barely missing out on the KO. So for now it's back inside the Mason's Guild waiting for them to come closer, and I'm able to take them out my next turn, just leaving a single Oliver clone, who at 1 HP didn't pose a threat to me at all, and a spike bulb easily took them out. And that is that for now. Part 5 is over. In the next episode, I'll be finishing off with Wargasm the Crash, turning off the lights at Last Light In, and more. So if you want to see that, don't forget to subscribe, and if you're enjoying this series, drop a like, a comment, and a share to help me out in the YouTube algorithm. Until next time, I've been Can I Beat This, teaching you too how you can beat this, and I'll see you in the next episode.